This week, we take care of a bad case of toe jam and top of the house of cards as Tim Donnelly schools us in Boss 101. We're like cats on a hot tin roof when we start talking about indie games like Infinifactory, but really, who can we trust in this town of Salem? It's episode 40 of the Indie Game Riot! Indie Game Riot! Hey everybody, it is Josh and Jan. Yes, this is episode 40. We are middle-aged and feeling good about it.
Yeah.
We're gonna... No crises yet, unless you're gonna go buy a sports car tech.
Maybe.
And I don't know. Unfortunately, we don't have Rev here with us. Rev is in Utah, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe he's like replaying The Hills Have Eyes involuntarily.
Something like that. Maybe he went back to his original religion. I don't know how that works.
He's got his wooden swords and stuff.
Yeah, he got hit in the neck with a wooden sword, and he had like temporary nerve damage. I think he's going to see a doctor, something like that. Anyway. That doesn't matter because we have Tim here, Tim Donnelly, who you might have seen on our website. He does. He's very kind enough to write the How to Make a Game series of articles on our website. If you haven't checked it out, you should go check it out because it's really good reads. And I'm not even a game developer, and I've found some helpful stuff. The stickies. The stickies.
Wow. You like that stickies?
Yeah, I do like the stickies.
Stickies is great.
That's how I even remembered that I had an interview.
Did you use the alarm function on it? Because that's the best thing.
I didn't know. No, I haven't even explored it too much.
Control Shift A, and it, like you. So basically, it's like a to-do list, right? You can make your to-do notes.
Yeah.
Write a note. Control Shift A, and then say hide until you want it to. Until the alarm comes on. So it just hides this like Post-it note on your desk.
Oh.
Then like later in the day, it just pops up and overrides any windows you're doing.
That would be helpful instead of having a big Post-it note.
I just have like timers on my phone.
My God, I have like I'm the master. I do that too.
I tried using like our webmail for that, and it won't work, right? So this is really helpful. But yeah, Tim is with us. He writes those articles. He also is the dev of Boss 101. We're going to interview him later about the game, and he's going to stick around for the whole show and talk about all the indie games and news and stuff we have on the show. But first, let's be good hosts, Tech, and let Tim go first. What's been going on with you recently?
You guys, great intro. Thank you very much. Boss 101, yeah. The thing with Boss 101, that's what I do full time, and it's basically heading towards a Steam greenlight. So what we're doing right now is putting together a video. So myself and the team, Jason and basically and Manon are putting together, Joshua are putting together basically the video for it. So what we're doing is putting all this stuff together, and we spending all our time getting ready for that. So this whole last couple weeks has been basically putting video stuff together and getting it ready. But the thing is, we don't want to release the video until it looks amazing, and all the stuff we've been doing right now has just been leading up to that. So that's like my whole week this week has been capturing gameplay footage, putting it together, putting it inside there, and getting it ready to be premiered and then captured and sent up there. So that's my week.
I'm excited to talk to you about that too, because I'm terrible at shmups and bullet hells and things like that. So I'm excited to talk to you about it because recently there's been a couple that I've come across at Magfest and Indiecade.
Yeah.
And I'm actually starting to grow fond of some of these games. So I'm hoping this will continue that trend. All right, Tech. What about you? What's been going on?
I've been keeping very busy. Work hasn't been as intense as it usually is. It is cold, so delivering pizzas is, in the snow is a thing. But I've really just been sort of focusing on having fun with my YouTube channel, playing a lot of video games, playing a lot of Hand of Fate.
Oh man, dude, talk about Hand of Fate. Actually, Hand of Fate. We talked. I'm bragging here for a little bit. Hand of Fate came to us. And they're like, here, have some codes. We haven't gotten a lot of attention or anything like that. And we checked it out. It was freaking it's amazing.
And now they're huge.
And now, like, it's getting so much attention on YouTube and things like that. And I love the fact that they've blown up out of. So all of a sudden. So congratulations to those guys.
Yeah, it's definitely a great game. There's an episode. You can check our website, indiegameright.com, where we talk about it. Playing, just some other stuff. I guess I haven't really been playing a lot of games. I've just been sort of keeping busy, staying on top of things. Yeah. It sounds boring, but I've been doing stuff.
Waste? No, you're a waste of life if you're not playing games.
Yep, totally. Yep.
It's okay. I understand. We all have. I mean, we always talk about can't really live off of podcasting peanuts. So I understand.
Not yet.
You got work and everything like that because I do too, and family. And I have been catching up on freaking Indie Game Riot stuff. I've been just swamped. If you haven't noticed that we're kind of behind on episodes, and that's all going to catch up this weekend. I'm getting it out, and then this episode will get out on time. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then you're also going to get more interviews from IndieCade because I'm going to be getting those out.
Did that one come out today?
I released the first one today. That was by some guys from NYU, or they graduated from NYU, and they won Best Game at the Global Game Jam this year, hosted in Brooklyn. And that was a trippy game. Go check it out. Backer Reward, it's called, and they're hosting a Kickstarter for their next game, which is kind of based on that. But
by the way, just as a sort of comment coming from multiple years of video production, Josh, were you alone?
Yeah.
It was just you?
Yeah,
you did a great job for being alone.
Thank you.
I'm used to having a team, but I saw the first one, I'm just like, it's just him. He just got this equipment. He doesn't know what he's doing, and it looks pretty good. Awesome.
Yeah, it was an experience with the equipment and just doing it by myself. Especially, the first one you kind of see is interesting because IndieCade was so different from MagFest.
Yeah,
it was a lot more cramped because it was a smaller building and area. That first one, I had like a group of people behind me because literally just like a few feet to the right, there was a whole like. Not amphitheater, but like just kind of an area for a panel or a workshop or something. I forget what, I think it was like legal advice for game devs.
Jeez, how do they cram all that in there?
And then the NYU was like up on the platform, so I was like hosting it, and I was kind of quiet too in the mic because I didn't want to be like over the panel. So it was kind of I had to work with that, and then there's other areas where you see I'm kind of like right up in the camera. Just because there wasn't a whole lot of room and I was doing my best, but yeah, I think considering it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, so it wasn't as hectic and out of control as MagFest.
It was different. I'll just put it that way. It was different. But you'll see it as they come out. But what else is going to come out like in the next 5 seconds?
What's that?
Indie News Injection.
Are you bored with the same old games?
Yeah.
Why, then give yourself an Indie News Injection.
Thanks, Indie Games.
And this week on Indie News Injection, we are starting out with a game that is coming back from the dead. It's a little game. You may have heard of it. You might not have heard of it. And if you're a younger listener, you're not even going to know what we're talking about. We're talking about Toe Jam and Earl coming back from the dead and currently on Kickstarter looking for $400,000. Toe Jam and Earl, I don't even remember. What year did it come out?
91.
I thought it was 92.
One of them came out in 91.
Yeah, it was the early 90s.
I think this is because this is like a spin-off or a sequel to the second one, I think is what they're saying. So I think 92.
Okay.
So later, early 90s, safe to say though.
Yeah,
exactly. And and they are looking for money on Kickstarter.
A lot of money.
And it is a lot of money. $400,000 is a lot of money. But hey, it's a lot of game. Everyone, nostalgia sells. And
Yes.
and I'll be completely honest with you. I don't know what they're doing. Like I don't know what's up.
I think they are purely. I mean, first of all, I'm kind of surprised that they were able to get the rights to this. I thought this was like, what is that, Sega?
Sega game originally.
I think it was Sega. I mean, I'm surprised they were able to get the rights to this because the second game I think was not considered independent. I think the first game was.
Yeah, it was.
The second game I don't think was. And now they're going independent again, so I'm not sure how they get the rights to it, but whatever. And I think it's just the one guy, what's his name? I actually don't remember his name.
Oh God, I wish I knew too.
With a Q. Q?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Something like that. But basically, the guy, I don't know, it's just the one guy, and he's coming out with it. I think I really think he's just banking purely on nostalgia. Like, purely. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure. Maybe the game will play well, but, I mean, if you remember playing the game, it kind of felt like Earthworm Jim mixed with...
Oh, yeah! You know what's weird is that in my head, those all sort of, like, melded together.
Yeah, it's like in that style.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how well that will stand the test of time.
But did you see that video he had though? That doesn't
with
look
the
like...
prototype. It very much does look
modernized.
I think that not only that, but stylistically they've sort of stepped up the stylistic choices. So if you look back at the original one and you have that sort of feel that it had, and then you modernize that, I think they've done a really good job of like keeping the same idea, and instead of just making it like HD, they've actually sort of transposed it into a modern style that I think works. It definitely looks like the original game, albeit a lot higher quality, a lot better.
Does it look like... Because this is a question for you guys, and I mean, if you played the original one, and whatever our ages are here, because I can assume I'm old enough to know about that game. So when I look at that game, and I think, if I was in my 20s, or 15 years old, and I saw that game, what would you think, really, if you didn't have the nostalgia for it?
I think the problem for me is, like, because, like I said, it's nostalgia for me, but just at first glance, it's very... I think they're going to take it, just my guess, they're going to take it to the point where it's almost making fun of the 90s as far as that style goes. Because, I mean, even if you look at... which one's the red guy? Is that Earl? I think... I forget which one.
I can't remember.
But the red guy on Toe Jam and Earl is dressed up in like that 90s gangster rap, like with the big medallion and the sideways hat, and
it's Flavor Flav,
looking like he's straight out of House Party or something like that.
Yeah, but I mean that is what he wore.
Yeah,
that's what he wore. But I'm saying like outside of just the people that remember that out of fandom and nostalgia. You're mentioning like how is a 15-year-old going to look at this and be like, do I want to play this? They're like,
that's true.
Who dresses like that? That's what they're going to think.
Well, here's my thing too. It's like, they've sort of updated the graphics to be in the modern day, but we have to think about this now.
And they're going to
if you're looking at it now. If it's the same game. If it's the same, go around, collect stuff, go to the next thing, collect stuff, find stuff, do this, don't fall off, 2-player antics, kinda.
Sure.
Like as much fun as everybody had, this game is very mechanically basic.
Yes.
And I don't see what it would be bringing to the table now, other than being like, hey, I can play Toe Jam and Earl.
You're right.
HD.
Like what new is it going to bring other than just being another action platformer?
Yeah, because he shows the demo or a prototype idea in the video, right? He shows a guy running around like a 3D type environment with the same ideas as the original Toe Jam and Earl, like collecting things and. Was it like a Lost Vikings game where like you teamed up and did things together? Like
it was more.
I don't think it's like a puzzle kind of thing where you had to like co-op to reach things.
So you just
really just. Yeah, everybody collects stuff, and if you walk away from each other, the screen splits, and you each can do your own thing. And
but my concern, like again, was like how well it's going to stand the test of time, because even with not even just the graphics, even with the upgrade graphics, I'm saying is like how many people like they're relying on the nostalgia of people who remember this time period, and because the 90s, first of all, if you missed the 90s, you're missing out. The 90s were fantastic. But if you did miss the 90s, you're not going to... And if they're really going for, like, hey, guys, you remember the 90s? Nudge, nudge. Remember this silly thing? Nudge, nudge. Most people like you said, 15-year-olds, they're going to be like, no, I don't remember that, as a matter of fact. What are you doing? What are you talking about? This isn't funny or relevant to me at all. So, I mean, I guess it depends on how many people really remember this.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't want to be the kind of guy to be like, no, you shouldn't do that, because like ideas are good, and this is the guy who. Well,
I like nostalgia too, and
who did think like this is his idea. Like he did.
He should do it. He should totally do it.
Exactly.
But, But do you think, like, here's a question I have, because this is as a guy that's in games myself, and always curious about, like, not only just how a media representative would see it, but as a consumer would see it. I look at that and I think, you've got two choices when you go in nostalgia. You either, your target audience is so big that no matter what you do, they're just so happy that Cabbage Patch Kids or whatever are back that they're like going to buy it up crazy, like tennis shoes, backpacks, whatever it is. Or you say, hey, this is just like this thing we did back then, but we're putting I hate to say a new interface or a slick look on it, because that's not what I'm trying to get at, but what you do is you give it such a sheen to it that even if you knew nothing about it, you go like, that looks rad. Like that was when I saw the video, I didn't immediately go, wow, that's like a rad level of like Darkest Dungeon visual tech of like where it's kind of retro, but it has this amazing look to it. Where I just kind of like, it looks like a Unity game with 2D placards and running in a 3D background that I've seen before. Like, and that's not a bad thing. And it's like the assumption to me.
But
is
it feels like a cash grab almost on it. Like, hey, I got this IP that people are going to remember, and like I can make money just purely based on nostalgia. And you know how fickle the internet can be. They're going to be like, people will see right through that. I don't.
Yeah, he's already got not half, but right, he's got a quarter of his money.
Yeah, he's just a little over a quarter.
He's almost half, 165,750 right now. He's at. Yeah. I mean, and he does have, like, other than the audience from the '90s, he has a lot of, I mean, Tim Schafer in himself is a huge market. He has a lot of what's the word I'm trying to pool in the industry.
Clout.
Yeah, so people see what he says. He's supporting the idea, so people can be like, all right, Tim Schafer says it's cool. I actually don't know the other guys very well, so I don't know about that.
Even like, I feel like when Tim Schafer, even him, when he does his own thing and he says, hey, I'm going to update one of my games or bring you back to my game.
Well, you remastered Grim Fandango recently. So.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like at least there's a sense, and I'm not saying that I love everything he's done, but I am saying that I feel like he does add a sheen to it that you're like, oh, that's kind of nice, like it's kind of a polish. This, when I see this, I'm like, I was wondering, I'm like, God, if I was just like, I didn't know jack diddly about this and I saw that video. Well, first of all, we need to tell whoever this guy is that how to link a video to the main Kickstarter.
Yeah, not only that, but like, and we talk about this too. We talk about this in our, good Kickstarters versus bad Kickstarters. And if you don't have gameplay footage in the first 30 seconds, people are going to play. Like, that's how it works. And here it's like, not only, like, I saw this, I'm just like, is this real? This isn't a video. And then I scroll down to the first video and I'm watching, and I'm like, okay, the original one. Okay. His face. Okay. And then you're a minute in and it's like, okay, yeah, game 3. Okay. All right. And then finally at a minute 15, it's like, oh, hey, this cool cinematographic of this game. And you just showed me all the things that it used to be. And it's like, okay.
What is it going to be? I don't care what it used to be.
Like,
I'll emulate a Genesis.
As bad as this sounds. But.
So, I mean, one last thing on this too. Now, we mentioned, well, I think it was last week, we talked about the Condemned franchise going indie.
Yeah.
Although that was brought into question by Ben Knowles. Actually, I think that was... When was that? We talked about it at some point. But anyway, it was brought into question by whoever we had on the show. I think it was Ben.
If it was actually indie, yeah.
If it was actually indie. But either way, it's still kind of an interesting topic to see these games that are pretty big take a step into the indie industry. As opposed, as to getting funded by a AAA publisher or something like that.
Yeah, I do think that is definitely something that it's going for. It's like, it's very much so like, hey, we have this IP, we want to get it to you guys, and we want to, make it ourselves.
That's one nice thing. Even if, talk about cash grabs or whatever, but
yeah,
either way, to even do this, I think at least that shows kind of a passion behind, because it's going indie probably because I mean AAA's are going to look at that like no, it's not going to.
Yeah.
No.
Mhm.
It's 2015, guys. Just stop. That's what they're going to say. But to go on and do it anyway, I think at least shows some sort of passion and some sort of commitment behind your creation.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah, and I just want to close on, at least for me, on this thought, thinking back to the idea of nostalgia and the idea of the games that have already been out, and you have this 15-year-old or this 12-year-old or however old somebody is gaming, and they're looking at this game. They have all these games that they have the Call of Duties and they have the Maddens and the FIFAs and all those games out, and they look at this game, they're like, oh, this is a game from when my older brother or when my uncle was playing video games. And right, and then they're because now what we're doing is we're bringing the games from when these people were had kids, and now those kids are older, and there's this younger generation who haven't played games like this. So maybe there is something there.
I think if they took it to the next level of making fun of the 90s, like if they, I don't know, like if they were like, if they started the intro cinematic to the game was like, back in my day there were these two heroes, Toe Jam and Earl.
Yeah,
like but there is one company that does this all the time that nobody questions it, and they make bazillions of dollars off it. Is Nintendo has been redoing
but see,
and they repackage it, put it out, they clean it up, send it out again.
But they make it different. Well,
they make it
don't.
different. They make it.
Because Mario Party hasn't changed. There has been this.
What's the last Mario Party you played? I mean, that's also
like 4?
That's also
Shit,
very specific. That's also a very specific demographic.
Like look at just Mario 3D to like Mario World to all that stuff. I mean, that's what I think of when I think of Toe Jam and Earl. I go, well, what is their jump they're gonna make that's gonna make me go, oh my god, this is so. Yeah. Even if it's like leave it 2D or do whatever they're gonna do, but there has to be like a level of sheen on it that I almost feel like you'd go like, oh my, I'm not saying the guy isn't going to hit his goal. He probably will.
Yeah. And I think, and I honestly, like, I kind of hope he does, because I want to see what happens.
Just to see what happens, yeah. Hopefully it just won't turn into a Peter Molyneux thing. Anyway.
That's the whole episode.
Yeah, that was last episode. 2 episodes ago. Anyway. Speaking of things that no longer have relevance, or going from that to something that does have relevance, just some interesting tidbits, because if I haven't mentioned, news this week is slow, but it's still kind of interesting, is that House of Cards Season 3 has recently come out on Netflix, and it's a really good show, by the way. Good job, Kevin Spacey. I like him a lot. But he, if you are a fan of the show, you know that he's a fan of playing video games in the show. And he plays things like Call of Duty, Killzone, blah, 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 AAA games.
What's Call of Duty? First-person
shooters. But Season 3, apparently, he switched out first FPSs and all that sort of stuff for indie games. There's a trailer, a clip of him playing Monument Valley, which we talked about that game not that long ago. He apparently plays a lot of the Stanley Parable in this season.
Which is surprising, because you go from like just from a writing perspective, it's like you go from having a guy playing first-person shooters to playing the Stanley Parable, and I'm like, so there are two different types. I don't know. You're getting different things from those different games. Let's just say
it's just I don't know. I mean, because the games that he plays usually there's like probably some deeper meaning why he's playing those games for whatever reason. So I'm assuming. I guess when you talk about indie games. Not always, but a lot of times indie games have the opportunity to take the message deeper. So maybe that's why they're switching over, because like, like Monument Valley, his life is like an MC Escher right now. It's all confused.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's cool that the games are getting that big, because like
I like the exposure.
House of Cards is one of those things that House of Cards happens, and then the nation's internet gets slower. No, seriously, I was listening to it on the radio. That's literally what happens. Yep, exactly.
You gotta watch it more right then.
Everyone binge watching it, yeah.
Well, now, wait, does he actually play? Because that would be pretty meta if he actually played Call of Duty on House of Cards. Because he's in Call of Duty. Like, he is actually...
Well, I know. He played, I think he was playing, like, Modern Warfare 3 in Season 1 and 2 or something like that. So he was in Advanced Warfare. But that would be kind of funny.
The latest Call of Duty, that would be fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be kind of funny. But yeah, that was just something that I found interesting. Congratulations on getting that exposure. You guys deserve it because they're both great games. I don't know, maybe there will be more, but those are the two that we've heard of so far. Speaking of awesome games, it is now time to talk about Boss 101 with Tim Donnelly.
Let's talk about Boss 101 right now.
Yeah, talk about Tim Donnelly, Boss 101, Tim 101, Donnelly Boss.
That's it. You got all. Those are all the websites you can go to too. They're all back to the main site.
.net, .org.
Half of them are some sort of
.biz.
half of them are some sort of fetish sites for Tim and bosses, and I don't know.
Something like that, you know.
Just like something strange about originally the game was called Jetpack. That was the. But when I did it, there's two versions. There's the one that's coming out, which is PC.
Yeah, you have a free version on Newgrounds, don't you?
Free version on Newgrounds, and that originally was called Jetpack, and that was going to be a mobile Android thing. And I had a friend, Joe, we were at lunch, and he was like, because you make bosses. The basic idea of Boss 101 is that you're a kid with a jetpack, and you're fighting all these randomly generated bosses. And I was talking to my friend, and he's like, why do you call it Jetpack? And I go, well, because you got a jetpack. And he's like, why don't you call it something like really memorable? Because there's like Pirate 101 and Wizard 101, because we're in Austin. I think King does those, and I think they're right. They're in Austin. So he's like, why don't you just call it Boss 101? And I'm like, Boss 101? I go, who the hell is Boss 101? You can't even get that website. I go, if I can't get the website, I can't call it that. I go, I'm already annoyed that I can't get Jetpack. And so I went and looked, and Boss 101, for whatever reason, had just expired on...
Oh, awesome.
Or something. Cool. I don't even know, HostGator or GoDaddy or some crap like that.
You snatch it up, I'm assuming?
Yeah, of course. Like, it'll link you back to the main... But at first I was like, I looked at it, and I remember I saw him the next day, and I said, Joe, you won't believe this, but I actually got Boss 101. He's like, what? That's fucking... No way that site was free. And I go, it just came free. And he goes, he's flipped out.
That's awesome.
To be fair, I can't imagine you not paying some sort of ridiculous premium. Because I know a guy who's basically like, hey, he's an older guy. It's like, hey, I have the rights and all the documentation for this website that I was going to turn into basically the Amazon or the Google of real estate listings. Here it is. I want $2 million. And I'm like, it's worth that, but I can't do that. But it's like, that's what websites are now. Like, you can, like, that's ridiculous.
Sometimes, yeah,
that
if you snatch up, I don't know, if someone like snatched up houseofcards.com, you probably get paid thousands of dollars. They would buy that from you.
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
it's crazy. No, you're right. I mean, I ended up paying the princely sum of like $6, I think. So
yeah,
that's good. I'm glad actually. That's awesome. Hey, by the way, okay. So starting off with questions.
Yes.
Your I guess your studio would be called Donnelly
Time Foundation. That was just a random. There's a story there.
Okay, what's the story behind your studio?
Okay, so it's called Donnelly Time Foundation because a long time ago I figured out, I wanted to make a time machine. And I figured, well, who could make a time machine, right? There's no way in our lifetimes likely that a time machine is going to be made. But the secret is you do not need to make the time machine yourself. You just need to start the company that makes time machines. Because if you have a time machine, they can come back and get you at some point. So I figured all I need to do is start a company called Donnelly Time Foundation that eventually makes time machines. So some point in the future, they're going to come back here and load me up with some cash.
So literally all you're doing is you're making video games so you can fund your later move to
exactly. Well, it may be
the most logical move.
Yes, exactly. Now, I don't know. Now, here's a couple questions that always come up. The reason they haven't come back is because clearly I have to do something important enough that they can't mess with the time stream right now. So that's the reason this house behind me is not made of gold or whatever the future monetary thing is, which could be sugar or dirt or something like that. I don't know, but that's the only reason. So apparently there's something I have to do still. Maybe it's finished Boss 101. I don't know, but that's the reason it's called
Pepastor in our live chat, he said that would be the best if someone just poofed in right behind you. And
oh my god!
Tim,
it's just like it's just like you see those guys on the screen right there. They're gonna get super famous, and you along with them. Then you'll be able to afford the time machine. I'm you in 20 years. Like
I've thought about this. I thought a lot about, like, if somebody told me right now to whammy back in time, like what, here's the deal. You get sent back, but it's some problem where you can only be back there for like 30 seconds and talk to yourself. And you think about, like, if you had 30 seconds with your past self 20 years ago, or 15 or 5 even, first of all, you'd have to convince yourself that it was you, which might be easy enough if you look, don't look too different. But second of all,
like half cyborg.
Can you relay to somebody in that short amount of time that is gonna, like, if you just suddenly right now were grab that and throw them back?
It's like Tiny Build's game, No Time to Explain.
Yeah.
Come on, just like this guy to shoot the.
Yeah, just Google. Just Twitter, anything.
Yeah. If I was, if I were alive, like 30 years ago, I'd just been like, I'd go back in time. I'd just be like, buy Apple. Yeah, it's like buy Apple and start Bitcoin mining now. Like
Bitcoin crashed. Forget that.
Well, no, but we're talking like long, like as soon as you know what I mean.
Yeah. Anyway, Boss 101.
Back to questions.
Yes.
Get to sidetrack.
That was the Dolly Time Foundation.
All right, so Boss 101 is a shmup, correct?
Yes.
All right, shmup.
It's basically like the original one is much more classically that, which is you're just blowing away guys, you're upgrading yourself, you're buying new weapons. The new one though, and I do have to give a quick nod to the fact that it isn't just me. The old game was just me all by myself, and the new one I have a team with me, and it's not like I'm not doing all this stuff alone. So I've got Joshua and Manone. Joshua is the engineer who's basically putting in the core tech, and Manone is the pixel artist who's working with me on the art. So I'm still doing the art and gameplay and game design, but I have 2 other people. But yeah, the new game, we're really looking to put in a little more oomph into it, because I feel like you just can't give people like a shoot. We have this discussion a lot, like I always think this, what would make me buy this game, and like why would I want this game? And one is that, Boss 101 Boss 101 and Cosmic Clicks and a few other games that I did. I put in a lot of humor in it, and I tried to make them funny, arguably, and they made me laugh at times. So I thought, well, okay, I mean, if I'm going to laugh. So the new one is basically, not only are you just shooting bosses and blowing guys away, but you got a story in there too, and there's like a lot of, the thing is the jetpack is basically kind of the, it's like Adventure Time. He's kind of like Jake, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Main character's kind of like Finn. Like he's sort of the Max is the main character, and he's sort of I hate to say a cipher, but he's basically kind of you, right? He's sort of you in the world going like, what the heck is going on? Steve is kind of like the guy that says all the things that you would say if you were in those positions, and he just sort of says everything that's ridiculous. Like, you'll say things like, he'll be running down the thing, and like, a boss will come up and he'll be like, didn't we see this guy before? Like, we've been beating the same guy for like the 15th time. Yeah. Or they'll say something like, well, one of the things that we did is we have dialogue in the game. So when things happen in the game, Steve or Max will say something about it. And one of them is that one of the bosses, and you'll see this in the Greenlight video, but I'll tell you now because it's just funny. It's like, one of the bosses, for no reason at all, just throws giant train cars at you. Like, throws them at you. And you're like, out of nowhere, for no reason, you just suddenly train cars start flying and rotating to the sky like, Michael Bay moment here. And of course, like, Steve is like, the first time it happens, he's like, are you kidding me? They're fucking throwing train cars at us now? Like, what kind of game is this? Like, these guys make less sense than we do.
Where are the trains at? I see no tracks.
Yeah, it's like, where are they getting train cars in the middle of space? Because he'll throw, obviously, anywhere level you're on, he'll throw train cars. And for no reason, he'll just throw train cars. And they say that, they'll be saying that because, they fly down a street, and there's, for whatever reason, there's audience members on the street. And they'll just be like, who are these people that keep coming out to see to see us beat up these bosses? And isn't it? They'll say things like, isn't it convenient that we're flying down the middle of a city street as opposed to like through the city buildings like we should be? We're conveniently keeping our path of destruction on this long avenue.
So it's like really self-aware humor involved.
Yes,
but it's actually funny. Like, that's the thing. Like, there are things that do like the self-aware thing wrong, and there are things that do the self-aware thing right. And with the absurdity of, hey, you have a talking jetpack and you need to kill these crazy bosses that are flinging cars at you. It's like, at that point, you're just like, what? There's nowhere else to go.
There's nowhere else to go. And that's the thing is the game, I just feel like, it makes the game fun to make, and I think that's important too. Like, it really, the big thing about Boss 101, at least, for me, and I, really work on this with the team too, is it's about making a fun game too. Like, we gotta have fun when we're making it, and most of it is just, we just laugh at the stupidity of like so when the bosses die, so the dialogue system goes in, the rounds start and you got dialogue balloons coming up, and mind you, we could talk all about things like, we've got millions of guns, got crazy guns, got lightning guns, flamethrowers, all that stuff are in the game, and there's all this stuff, but we get the dialogue system in, and I asked Joshua, I was like, can we trigger something when a boss dies? And he's like, yeah, it's super easy. He goes, no big deal. So he set up a system. He said it's in, and he took off for the day. Checked in his work, took off. I went in, I added, when a boss dies, say my anus with exclamation points. So a boss dies, huge fireball of explosion goes up, he dives into the ground, and as he dies, he's screaming my anus, and he falls into the ground. I don't touch about this at all. I just checked in and sent it off. Next morning, I got up, he was already working on the game, and I go, hey, did you see the latest build? And he goes, dude, you should have told me you put that in. He goes, because I actually spit out all my food when that came up. He goes, it was so unexpected. He goes, I didn't even realize what was gonna. He goes, I laughed. He goes, it was so freaking fun. And Manon, too, I asked Manon later. She goes, oh my god. She goes, I was not expecting that. She goes, it was just so ridiculously random. And I said, yeah, that's that right there in a nutshell is sort of the kind of stuff that's in the game, and that's. There is a story, and if you see the latest update we've got up, it sort of hints at the beginning of the game, which is you have a brother, you go to a hospital with the jetpack, of course, and your brother is like an X Games guy, like he's a BMX, snowboarder, all that, and he's got a broken leg.
So what up, bro?
Yeah. You go visit him in the hospital, and you're bringing him, it's his birthday, and you're bringing him his birthday present, and it's a little GoPro camera, and he's like, oh, that's cool, but I can't do anything with this camera. He goes, why don't you go out and have an adventure for me? And basically, like, you're like, oh man, I can't have an adventure. And like the jetpack is like, he goes, wait a minute, man. He goes, your brother rides snowmobile and snowboards. He goes, you got a jetpack. He goes, why are you? I'm just excited about what he does. And he's like, oh man, he's my brother. He's cool. And so the whole thing is, he's your older brother and stuff. But there's just these funny moments where you're kind of like going like, why is he so excited about a guy riding a BMX bike down a slope? Who cares? Like, he could fly in a jetpack with a machine gun. That's rad. Like, that's just cool as hell. So, like I said, there's just a lot of stuff where we want to kind of bring in I don't want to say, I hate that's such an overused word to say human element, but just a funny story basically. Kind of give you more just, I feel like.
I like actually, because I didn't realize how involved you were making this game, because like I said, I saw Shmup, and I see your updates, and all I really get to see are the animated GIFs and everything like that. Sure. I like that you're adding the humor and the story into it, and I like the fact that you're adding your you're putting yourselves into it, because you're talking about you can't make a game without having fun, because if you're not having fun, who else is going to have fun with it?
Exactly.
It's a boring game then.
And what's the point of doing it?
Exactly. So I'm appreciating that, and it's making me. I mentioned before that I wasn't really into shmups, and now I'm kind of like these really innovative games are starting to come across, and I really appreciate good dialogue and story and everything like that. So adding that into it is again attracting me to do this and getting me excited for a shmup where otherwise I wouldn't be. So good job on that. And also I just need to, because Sakari in the live chat just keeps yelling out the legs joke.
Yes.
You want to elaborate?
The legs joke, yeah. So that's in the what he says is that when you go to the hospital, in the update that we have up right now is he basically, you get to the hospital and it's just a snippet of that dialogue where you're talking with your brother, and you're saying, what do you want for your birthday, bro? And he goes, and your brother, who's got his broken leg basically sitting there, he goes, I could use an adventure. And the jetpack, and Steve, the jetpack goes, says the guy with the broken leg. Like, he's just basically going, you want an adventure because you basically got here on an adventure. Like, why don't you just chill out a little? Like, he goes, you don't need an adventure right now. I mean, you got plenty. If you guys want, I mean, you should, I don't know, I mean, you don't need to, but there's basically the earlier updates, and we'll definitely go to more of them, but we used to have, like, just Steve and Max talk to each other in an update. Like, we'd have an update, just talk. And one of them is, you're in the command center. Command center's like your main base, right? You've got this ridiculous base, and of course they ask about it. They're like, how does this kid have this ridiculous, like, super high-tech base? But at one point you're in your command center, like, chilling out with Steve, and you guys are just talking about stuff. And, you know, you've got, like, you've got arcade games you can play yourself, and these are independent of the boss.
So you have, like, little mini arcade games that you can play?
Okay. It's like, think, in South Park, you know they have, who are the two little stick figure guys, even the more awful looking.
Terrence and Phillip?
Yes, Terrence and Phillip. So you basically, the games in there are like even more retro than Boss 101. They're like super retro. They're like the most basic games. But yeah, you're just sitting there in the command center, and while you're in there, in one of the updates, Boss 101, basically the final boss of the game, of this game, shows up. He shows up on your screens, and he's like, hey, what's up? And they're like, hey, what are you doing here? And he's like, I just want to see what the new place looked like. And they're like, they go, man, you're like the secret reveal of the last game. Why are you even showing up? He's like, man, don't worry about it. And he puts up a little question mark on his face. He goes, there, that's better. Nobody knows who I am now. And so he starts talking to you. And one of the things, you know, we've talked about all these game ideas, but just funny stuff like, he'll say, he asks you things like, he's like, yeah, you guys are coming to get me. Sure, you guys want to come out and fight me, all that crap. And they're all like, how do you even know where we live? He goes, let me get this right. You guys have a map room that has a big arrow to where I live. He goes, why do you think I don't have a map room that has a big arrow to where you live? Because you know, all the games you're always like, how do they have a map to where the final guy is? Like, how do they even know it? Like a classic, you know, it's like a game board, you know, and he's like, I've got a game board too. He goes, I got a game board, but on my game board, I start on mine and I end on yours. He goes, you guys have a game board where you start on yours and end on mine. But there's all that stuff where I just feel like in these games, there's so many assumptions they make, but they're still in this game, you know, sort of the basic gamey stuff.
One of the coolest things too is you're bringing this stuff up, and I'm like, oh yeah, that is true, but nobody's talked about it. Like,
nobody ever says anything.
And it's like this is probably like the funniest like interview we've had. Just you telling me stuff that's like actually really funny. And, and at first I was like, yeah, it's sold me on the shmup, and then, you know, like talking to you and like you know, diving deeper into this, I'm just like, this has so much more built around this game, just the gameplay of this game.
That's what I was saying. Like first glance, you see the retro, you see the shmup, and you're like, okay, retro shmup, and then now that you're talking to us about it, it's you can see that beneath that surface there's a whole lot more to it. And you mentioned too, like the original one that's for free on Newgrounds was much more of a classic shmup. You just go and shoot and try not to die. Other than the dialogue in the story and all that, like, is there any other mechanics or gameplay that you feel like are kind of bring that above like the classic?
Yeah, in the original one, there's a lot of you know, I mean, it does focus. I think that the Boss 101, you know, just to kind of clarify where I come from, is that, you know, before Boss 101 and before all that, I worked in games for about 20 years, and I was a toy designer before that for about 5. So, you know, I come from a background where we did a lot of AAA games, and you know, I shouldn't even say they were all AAA. I say it because that's the budget level that they were at. You know, they were definitely games that cost upwards of, you know, certainly 15 to 30 million. You know, they were just big games. But you know, when I wanted to do Boss 101, I just felt like the thing I was missing was kind of that story, or just that sense of, like, you know, I love it. I love shows like Adventure Time. I love that stuff. I think it's so great when they're not only funny, but they're just sort of aware, and they've got a world. As wacky as the world is, you feel like it's a real thing. Like, you know, you almost feel what I felt doing Boss 101 in the web games. And if you look at, I mean, if you really want a game that I think was sort of the final iteration before this version of Boss 101, is Cosmic Clicks, because that is just like pure. It's like a clicker game, but it's got like a ridiculous level of humor on it, where you meet. It's got Steve.
Tech loves clicker games.
Yeah,
and Rev. We got to tell Rev actually.
I don't have it. I'm not playing it, but
it's a very short game. Like, it doesn't take very long to beat it. Like, it's a clicker game with an ending, but through the whole thing, it's just them flying through space and you're upgrading their ship basically in the clicks, which is in Boss 101 too. But yeah, I think the thing for me, is just the humor, and I always started the Boss 101 universe with the thought, it's a real place. And this is as if somebody licensed a game about the place. Like, I never started just going, I'm just making a shooter, and I'll add these characters just to kind of flesh it out and give you a character to play. I always thought, this place is a real place, or whatever. It's like kind of that, imagine a Harry Potter place or a Lord of the Rings place. Like, it exists, and if I'm going to license, like, part of it, these characters, to make a shooter, what would it look like? And that's what I look at. And so when I write the dialogue, I just imagine this is what they would really say. This is just them kind of like actors in the back of a studio kind of talking about their lines and stuff, going like, is this what we gotta say now? Like, this is crazy. So, but it's go ahead.
Well, it's and more on the gameplay mechanics too, because every time you throw out updates, it's almost always like a gif of a new boss or something.
Yeah,
and how it fights. What you mentioned procedurally generated boss battles. Is that what's happening in this? Because like,
they're procedurally, well, yeah, there's a lot of, oh, by the way, Joshua is in the stream right now. Hey, Joshua, how you doing?
Oh, yeah.
Is the genius engineer that is on the, I can take zero credit for the great code and the feel of the game. I can only take credit for, like, giving him sort of a whimsical idea and then hanging up on Skype, and then he does all that. So then I'll come back and, like, tweak a couple things and, like, make a missile fly a little faster or slower, and he's like, okay, let's do that. Is that right, Josh? Something like that?
Yeah.
But basically, yeah, I think that the game, in terms of the procedural battles, is you have a make a boss, so I thought it'd be funny in the original one if you could just make your own boss. Like, who cares? Like, just
so you have, like,
your own boss.
Parts of, like, bosses, and you just kind of mishmash them together?
Exactly.
Oh,
like,
that's cool.
Yeah, you can just, and you can re-roll, too. There's no... Right now, there's, like, no penalty for, like, you just want to roll up something. Basically, the deal is the harder the boss, the tougher the parts, the more money as a bounty you get for it. So, in the original Boss 101, there were 3, is that right, 3 interchangeable parts? I think so. In this one, there's 5. Originally, there were, like, a couple million combinations possible. In this one, I think it's somewhere, like, it's got to be upwards of 4. Josh would probably, I don't know if we ever talked about exactly the amount of combinations. It has to be upwards of 20, 30, 40. I mean...
So replayability on this, actually, because of that, like, is exponentially, like, larger than... Okay.
It gets crazy. Like, it gets crazy. And, I mean, I have rarely seen, even me just playing the game and doing updates, I hit generate a boss once and then do an update. That's about... I don't normally see the same boss... I don't think I've seen the same boss twice. I mean, unless I want a specific thing, like I want a guy that fires rockets for this update just because I want to have rockets flying, I'll click it a few times. But yeah, you can, and the backgrounds, another thing too, this is another crazy Joshua story. I have to tell this because he's fucking amazing. So in the original game, my feeble, programming foo couldn't make, the backgrounds are static, right? It's just a city. I just, put some tiles in there. And I remember on one of the first days, Joshua and I were talking about the game. I was like, yeah, it's just a static background. I'll just, do whatever. And he's like, I could just do a procedural background, basically generate a city moving by. And I was like, to me that sounded like, he did sound like he was talking about a time machine. I'm like, what? That's too crazy. I go, let's not blow all of our programming time on that kind of stuff. And he was just like, well, he goes, what? That's like, not that. I mean, he was just like, come on, this is, I don't think this is going to be too tough. And I'm like, okay. I was like sweating, like going, oh yeah. Okay, let me send you the tiles, and then we'll do this. And are you sure about that? And he's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure. So I think, again, I like send him some tile email, whatever, send him the stuff. And I couldn't have gone away I know by the end of the weekend he was done with it, but I think it was much sooner than that. He had a demo of it. But I remember by the end, one point he's like, and we're talking kind of hours or 24, 48, if even that. He goes, oh yeah, get the latest build. And I'm like, okay, get it. And there's like this entirely procedural generated city with multiple layers and things moving by. And I'm like,
Oh,
How the hell
man.
do you do that? And so the whole game, basically the other thing, so you're always getting new levels, new bosses, new minions, new everything, and it's, granted there's a pool that it's being drawn from, but the fun of the game is that you just really don't know what's going to happen, and that's kind of, to me, I love that kind of stuff where you see a new part on a boss and you're like, what the hell is that, dude?
Yeah.
That's what I was just
killing
thinking
you.
that because I was looking at
Yeah.
I was looking through your website, and there's one that's kind of going through different boss things, and there's one that has like it looks like a dick. I'm gonna be honest. But there's like a sword. There's a sword on the bottom, and it's just like man. I'm like, what the hell is that thing?
Well, I will at one point talk about the boss, because that's Josh's favorite boss. Like, there's one that has like butt on him. I didn't think it was a butt at the time, but Joshua keeps calling him the butt boss, so now he is. Like,
Oh, Josh, the one with the sword also has a rocket going into him from the rear.
Yeah. So,
Oh, and moving, touching back on these bosses, because you can get so many different builds with these. I can only imagine you're gonna put this out. People on the internet are gonna get a hang of it. People are gonna start getting good, and then they're gonna start designing like the harder bosses. It's like, beat this boss in this time, do this in that much time. So like then all of a sudden, like there's so much possibility for like a meta game for the people who are actually playing.
oh yeah.
To like get into it and like oh, try this boss, it's super hard, or it's like, oh, this is like the most ridiculous bullet hell thing you could possibly do, and it's like,
Exactly. I mean, you're kind of touching on the stuff that, and it's stuff that I love in games too. There's two great moments in games that, well, of many, but there's two that I just love, which is, one is you get something new and you ask the classic, what the hell is this question? Like, what kind of boss is this? What kind of weapon? The other one is getting a piece or a boss, or in any game, getting something you already know and you're not ready for it and going, oh, fuck, that's one of those.
yeah.
Those are great times. Like, I love that kind of stuff. And I think that, I really feel like it's important to drive those things, into the game as much as possible, because it just makes it fun. Like, there's just three of us, and we're really trying to make it as exciting as possible for us, and not just that, but just like, we're maximizing what we do best, basically. Like, the procedural boss is really a result of like, well, we're not going to build, 400 bosses. Hell no. Like, that ain't going to happen. We just don't, that isn't like the kind of tech that, and time too, I got to say, if it wasn't for like Joshua and Minona, I mean, I guess I could have done this by myself. It would probably have been more feeble, and it would have taken a lot longer. The way we're going now, it's like, I can't even tell you how much better the game is. I mean, for you, the player, it's going to be just 1,000 times better and 1,000 times more fun. So it's incredible. But yeah, it's really like, it is about making those gaming moments, not just, the dialogue and the humor, which of course I love doing. I think it's just great, but the shoot 'em up part is just blast too. Like,
they're memorable. Yeah, it's like I can't believe that shit just happened. Kind of moment.
Like there's stuff like that too. Like, you have like in the Boss 101, I think you can buy it in this one, where you had to earn it in the last one. But we have the fist cannon, which is this giant thing that fires giant metal fists at bosses. It's just like a giant punching thing, and it's just this random, like, it's like, why do we? You're always asking questions too, because they'll say things like, wait a minute, why don't we use this super gun all the time like that? Because I think in the last one, it's like, wow, once you get this, why would you even use your other gun? I mean, we put in stuff to kind of make you want to use the other guns. Like, all the guns should be fun too. They should all have a nice feel to it, so you're like, oh, okay, cool, I like this. My preference is shotguns, or my preference is the lightning gun, or my preference is the fist cannon. For whatever reason, it's your own personal choice.
Exactly. I've played a few shmups where it's like, hey, there are these guns, and you can choose whichever one you like, and naturally, different people are going to gravitate towards like, oh, well, I really like the laser based thing. It's like, no, these shotguns do so much damage up close. Like, so like, I don't know if that's like a basic shmup thing, but it's something that I love about the genre.
Yeah, and that's, you're right.
Yeah,
go ahead. But I mean, but that's the thing too, is that it's like, you really, when you're in that genre, you've got a couple choices, and there's like the, I forgot the name of the company, but there's a few Japanese companies that are like, you can't even touch them. They've got SNK level artists, like 1,000 talented Korean artists working on it, and they've got 100 talented engineers, and you're up against that kind of thing, and those are like, they're dealing with the beauty of the game, the beauty of the gameplay, and for us to kind of just say, well, we'll do that, not like we couldn't, but you got to understand the manpower difference there. It's like, are you really going to build the Palace of Versailles in like a year versus what they are? Like they're doing that kind of stuff.
And you mentioned holding off on stuff too earlier. I meant to say when people are rushing, their game because they want to get out, they're excited or whatever. Like don't. Just, I see people in the chat talking about making their own game inspired by, you. And just don't rush it. As much as people like me and Tech were like, come on, we want to play it, come on. Don't rush it because it's you'd rather make people wait than come out with something that's buggy or crappy or something like that. Just take your time.
And the other thing too, you were talking about these huge companies making these beautiful games, but at the same time, there are companies that are like 3 people big, and they're still making games that are just as fun. Like you don't you might need 300 different artists doing multiple different things to make this game the most beautiful game ever. But if you look back in time, we didn't used to have the most beautiful games ever. They were just games and they were fun to play. And having a game that looks good and is fun to play, it doesn't have to be the best looking thing ever to be the best game.
It depends on the kind of game, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I mean, the Assassin's Creed games kind of go in that we want it to look a certain look that requires a lot of people to get. You can't,
like freaky mannequins.
Freaky mannequins running around on giant mausoleums. That's the game. It takes 700 people, and
exactly.
But that's the kind of thing too. But go ahead. You were going to say something.
Well, I was going to say. I also just noticed on your website, congratulations on being 297 out of 24,533 on IndieDB. That's a testament.
About that. Like IndieDB is a great place too, and we put up our updates, and we're so excited when we drop into the low 30s and down into the 20s if we do a good update. So it's always a big deal. But it's the thing for me is, and what you're saying about the releasing the game and not rushing it. That's true. Like if anybody, I think in anything really, there's no rush. Here's the funny thing, like if you were telling somebody I want to learn to play piano, everybody just understands there's a ramp-up curve on that. Nobody would sit there and go, well, let's play a concert next week. It's like you wouldn't be like, you wouldn't even want a person to show you a little bit of their playing. You'd be like, I don't care. It's going to suck until you're really good. Like, show me it's really good. Like, just give me that.
Yeah,
I'll be excited. I think with games, it's maybe not a perfect example, but, again, we talk, Joshua and I, Manona and I, we talk a lot about, well, let's not release the game until we feel it's good and just we feel it's ready, like because you get the saying is we get nothing from releasing it early and crappy at all. You're getting nothing. You maybe get the difference between really sometimes my experience in games, difference between 500 sales and 5 million sales is really not as much as you think, and it's mostly just polish. Like a lot of it comes down to just make sure the game is really polished. Obviously, it's fun. Assuming all things are equal. Fun, clean, good art, and then a polished game is going to get you pretty far. Like it'll get you easily the 80s on Metacritic.
And especially now with the fact that you don't have to spend thousands upon thousands of dollars advertising, and the age of the internet where everybody's connected, everybody is going to know somebody who might played it. YouTube is a perfect place. Like there are people who you're reaching and you don't even know. Like some person might buy the game, think, oh, this is really cool, I'll tell my friend, and then the friend has 10,000 Twitter followers, and the guy's like, buy this game, and then all of a sudden you have a spike in sales, and you didn't do that.
See, you just said the most important thing, which I wish more, and I think you both think this way too, which is I think it's really important that the game speaks for itself when you're not around. In other words, if I'm not here hyping it, I would want the Greenlight trailer or any of this stuff, want it to basically get you so excited that you go, oh my God, I got to show this to a friend. I want to show this and then that to me is a successful thing right there. Like you're on a good roll if you got it going like that. And that's the goal of what we're doing is we really want people to see the same things we see, the same charm that we see clearly illustrated, when you kind of go, oh, and maybe like you say, maybe you see a screenshot or you see a podcaster with us, us, and you go, oh, okay, these guys are cool. Like I want to kind of know more about this game. But it's
the passion that you show. I mean, in itself, that speaks for the game, and that it's going to be, that there's going to be something at least you're going to get out of the game because you're putting yourselves into it. And by the way, talking about Metacritic score, if you do end up getting an 80, I was just thinking it would be really cool to see a physical copy of Boss 101. We're friends with we're friends with a company called IndieBox. If you haven't heard of them,
Sounds familiar.
you know, like Loot Crate and things like that.
Yeah.
They're like that, but for indie games, they send like physical copies of indie games, like collector's editions. And if you get like an 80 on Metacritic, and you do well on Steam, then because that's kind of like their I don't know,
requirement.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
your requirement for it. I think it'd be really cool to see like a Boss 101 physical copy. That's just me being fandom.
What was the game that...
That's IndieBox, by the way, for people.
Yeah, what was it? Risk of Rain just got one, and then also...
I love that game. That game was awesome.
there was another one. What was the one before Risk of Rain?
I don't know. They have a
Super
bunch
Retro,
of them.
Yeah, they do that.
Super Win the Game.
Super Win the Game.
Yeah. Yeah, they had like it was like Super Win the Game in a box that was a package like an old SNES game package, and it had like a USB gamepad and things like that in there.
Stuff's awesome.
Yeah, and then so is there anything that you want people to know about Boss 101 that we haven't covered, or like ways to contact on Twitter, Facebook, all that sort of stuff? Since
you've got do you guys have the?
Here's the website for those of you in the chat.
There's like the
Boss 101
main website. Yeah, that's the main website you just put up. Definitely I'd check us out at Donnelly Time Foundation or boss101.com. Either one. Boss101.com will take you to the main page anyway, and from there's all the links to everything, the Facebook page and Twitter and all that stuff. I mean, to me, it's just I feel it's really important to just earn your fans. I think it's really. I don't take any. There's no givens in this sense. Like one thing I've really learned is that I don't take any of this stuff for granted, and I feel like I appreciate you guys. Just talking with you guys now, it's awesome. It's super fun, but it's the kind of thing like like I said, I've worked in companies where they just sort of assume like, well, what are we going to do to get all these people? I'm like, you're going to go out there and show them that there's something they want. Like that's the only way to do it. Right? There's no way to convince. Yeah. There's no tricks involved. It's like give people something they want, and they will buy it. I mean, that's as easy as it gets, and I think for me and just Joshua Manon, we're looking to give any player some entertainment. That's the whole point, right? Yeah. The contract is we entertain you, and you help support us in the habit of entertaining you. That's the kind of way we look at it. So, to me, it's like go to Boss 101. There's updates going up. The Steam Greenlight, in an ideal world, will be up before the end of March. That's what we're looking. And this is the video and all that stuff. Here's the thing: we could put a video up now, and we've talked about this too. Like we could put a video up now, but it wouldn't be something that we'd be super excited about. I mean, it would definitely show the gameplay. It would definitely, it undoubtedly would get greenlit eventually. I don't know that it get greenlit in an instant, but when it goes up, it's going to be something that we're like, man, this is fucking awesome. Like,
I'm really excited.
Is there?
Oh, by the way, wait, hold on, real quick.
Okay.
Joshua actually said that about the boss combinations. He says there are 102,400,000 boss combinations. So holy shit.
There you go.
His
math is correct, but his math is probably correct. So it's like
he's like, I just ran the numbers. I know exactly what this is doing.
There's a pretty ridiculous amount of boss combinations. Like you're really not going to see the same boss twice, technically.
Well, I'm just so like the fact that you're so not only very excited about this project, but also so knowledgeable in a very like welcoming way. I think not only makes me feel better about the game, but makes me just excited about the idea of the game, and that's really important to me too. Because I talk to a lot of people, video wise. I talk to guys who have been doing this like 20 years before I was born, with my video stuff, and just there are some guys who are like, yeah, it's what I do, whatever, and they're kind of boring. And then there are people who are just like, yeah, there was this, there was that, there's this one time, there was this grip on this one shoot that we did. And it's like just having that passion for what you're doing, I think brings in a lot more people, much deeper than the people who are just like, yeah, I made a cool thing, check it out.
Yeah, well, I'm much more excited about anybody, whether it's a author, a singer, a movie maker, anybody, when they. To me, if you're not excited about what you're doing, it's going to show in what you're doing. Like exactly. It translates very clearly into the work you do. And I make the joke like I leap out of bed now. I'm working harder now than I've ever worked, but I don't even consider it work. I should say I'm putting an effort into this project, and it's like no effort at all. Like up until 2 years ago, I worked at Vigil Games in Austin, which was the Darksiders team. Basically after they closed, I had a choice to go to, back to the West Coast, where I was from originally, go to like LA, maybe San Francisco, go to something like an EA or whatever, or Amazon. And I just thought about it, and I'm like, oh God, I can't be like cruising in on 50 and being a guy that's taking notes in fucking Jira. I can't do it. Like I don't care. I don't care if they pay me $500,000 a year. Just as
you don't want to have to deal with middle managers.
Yeah, well, and what's worse is that I was the middle manager. Like, that's
you're the guy. It's just like, we're gonna pay you to tell them what we're telling you.
You're in that.
So much red tape.
Yeah, the ultra high echelon guys that are getting paid, arguably millions, versus the team that's down there in the trenches. And not to say I've worked on some brilliant teams. The Vigil team was amazing. They're amazing people. But at the same time, like doing this is so like. I'll tell you, nothing shaves years off your life than just following your dreams. I mean, you will immediately notice a spring in your step, and your skin will start glowing, and you're just like, this is great. Of course, Joshua's he's seen me with my scruffy beard, and when Joshua first saw it, I think I had longer hair too. I didn't have my hair buzzed now.
That's what the times that you don't leave your house. You've been coding for like 2 weeks straight, and you come out into the sunlight, and you're like,
it's like so bright outside.
Yeah.
So yeah, talking about passionate in games. I mean, that's we got to kind of cut it there just so we have not a 3-hour show or something like that. But I'm really excited about it. I hope everyone else is too. We're looking forward to Boss 101. On the fan side of me, get that shit done. Come on.
I know.
The other side of me, make sure it's perfect.
Make sure it's good. Yes.
But that is Boss 101, Tim Donnelly. Check it out, DonnellyTownFoundation.com or Boss101.com finally. And go support the indie dev, because we love to support indie devs. Up next, we got more awesome indie games we're just going to go through and feature for the week. And Tim's hanging around, so stay tuned for Starting to Riot. And this week on Starting the Riot, we have a game called, you ready for this? Hot Tin Roof. Hot Tin Roof, actually the full name, I guess, is Hot Tin Roof, The Cat That Wore a Fedora. And let's get some gameplay footage rolling of that on our live stream. There you go. Hot Tin Roof. And it is actually a noir type game. Basically, sorry, it keeps switching on the thing. I don't know. Does it do this every single time?
Yep.
Oh, crap.
You have to keep it open.
Oh man! All right. Well, anyway, you're a private investigator investigating some murders and things like that, and it's a 3D side-scrolling kind of game, and you have to check out different levels and things and pick up clues to investigate the murder. And with your sidekick, you're like actually, to be honest, the guy looks kind of like a turd. It's very stylistic, the art, but it's. When I say turd, it sounds like an insult, but I don't know. Potato. All right, that's a little bit better. The cat is like your sidekick, I guess you would say. There's some dialogue choices and everything like that in the game. Just based on your first impressions, Tech, like from watching videos and Tim, what do you think of the game, actually?
I think that it, I guess there were some choices I think that they made that I wouldn't have made, but I think that's good because they're actually sort of bringing that, I guess their perspective on that. Everything is very, like you said, stylistic. Stylistically speaking, it is very much it's almost 2.5D. I found, because everything is in 3D and all the worlds are in 3D, but you're sort of living
it's because it's side scrolling, so it's
yeah, exactly, yeah.
It's not rotating.
But there is depth to everything. There's a lot of to the movement, the sort of point and click sort of aspects of it really appeal to me. The whole noir feel. I mean, I'm into that. It took me a while to really get into it, but I think they do it very well. Sort of like a it's funny, but it's dark, and yeah, they're murders, but we're taking sort of a lighthearted approach, and
But there's a cat.
I dig it. Exactly. No, I totally dig it.
No, it's what's cool is it has that thing where I feel like when you go down those kind of rabbit holes, when you come up with a style like that, and you're like, hey, I'm going to come up with this kind of a wacky look and little potato guy jumping around or whatever with his cat. It looks like they went down the rabbit hole the whole way, which is they said, forget, we're going to like explore this world and show you a lot about it, which to me looks cool. The trailer makes me think there's a lot of stuff going on because they're showing like dialogue segments and you kind of running around the city and opening, flipping things. I'm like, I can imagine, like, I don't want to say, I guess Abe's Odyssey was sort of a 2D, 3D type of thing.
Yeah, it was kind of,
really. And then, even Grim Fandango and those games where they're fun games. I mean, if you put in the humor and you kind of have this little moment where you're like, use the key in this door, flip the switch with this thing, use that kind of... Those are always fun. Like, if that's the kind of game it is, that's awesome. Like, it could be a really... If you're into those kind of games, put it that way. Like,
I think charming is a good word for this
definitely.
game.
And also, this game sort of reminds me in some ways of the game Jazzpunk. But only very, like, not gameplay-wise, not even really, sort of stylistically, but it has something over Jazzpunk in which it actually has something going on. It's not like, do these wacky things and sort of an experimental way. Yeah, exactly. Like, this is very much like, hey, the world's really wacky, but, the what's actually happening is, sort of, like, pretty straightforward, which I think is something that this game definitely has going for it, because some people go the wacky route or the humor route, and then they just go like completely balls out, like, this is not gonna make any sense, you're gonna have a weird time, like with Burrito Galaxy 65. Whereas this is like, yeah, the style is wacky, the gameplay is very straightforward, you're gonna have some what moments, but it's still going to be a game with a beginning, middle, end, and takes you on a journey. And
there's an interesting inventory mechanic with this too, like with the gun. It's weird because you shoot it and then you have to like bring it up in front of you, which is kind of a cool 3D model, like stylized in their art. And then you have to like manually load it. I don't know. I think to some people it might be kind of tedious, like why? But at the same time, I think it's a little bit more. It makes you more involved with it because this is the kind of game with dialogue and you're kind of taking your time trying to get clues. It's not just run and gun, so it kind of helps you like switch up things a little bit. I think as far as that goes, and it's a very interactive game. I think.
Yeah, that's a good point. Word. Yeah, so. That's a really good way of putting it. Also, it sort of feels like they're not mini games, but they sort of have that feel to them where it sort of breaks up the sort of point and click style gameplay, because like point and clicks, they've been out forever, and even before those you have your the typing based ones, and so sometimes you have to break away from that and do something a little bit different, and then adding in the puzzles, and then adding in the sort of like the different resource management, I'm going to call it resource management, with like the gun and everything, and having to do different things really makes you bring yourself out of like, okay, we're looking for clues to now, okay, I have to reload the gun, I have to like move my hands, do different stuff, and sort of repurpose myself, and now that that's done, I can go back, and it sort of, I guess, maybe clears your head. That's what it would do for me.
Yeah, I mean, it just has that. It's got some, like, I think the charming thing is right. I mean, it's just one of those games that they look like they've added some mechanics in there that are really, they're building off clearly the tech they had before with that Jones on Fire crap. I mean, it's like, you kind of see the same aesthetic there, and it's just like they sort of expanded that idea out. I'm sure that they thought the same thing I did, which is when I first saw Jones on Fire, I was like, that's cool looking. Like, that's a great looking, what an idea. It's like, there's an example, too, of a team that's probably not super huge, kind of leveraging their skills and going, look, we can't have super rendered, Kung Fu Panda level kitties running around, so clearly we're going to have to come up with some ideas here. And it's like, I love it. I love the...
Yeah, it looks like there are 6 people working. Also, just because it's a really big topic now, the founder of the company, Megan Fox, that I thought that was a joke. It's not a joke.
That'd be kind of funny if it was actually Megan Fox.
Yeah,
but I feel if it was Megan Fox, it would have a bigger budget.
Yeah,
because she's rich.
But yeah, no, it's only like a few guys and gals, and yeah, also completely free to use the game for like recording for YouTube or anything else like that. I'm just trying to find out more information on them. They've been around since 2011. Yeah. But most of the team, if not all the team, has background in making games. So these guys know what they're doing, and I think it's kind of obvious.
The universe, that's pretty.
Yeah.
That's big. I mean, she definitely knows her stuff. Like, certainly, if she was a coder on Lego Universe.
Oh yeah, and Lego games are so good.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. One thing I was actually impressed with is it's pretty smooth. The animation is smooth, but then it was showing in the video, like when you're turning a corner, even just the camera flow is really nice.
It's also that sort of works with the style too. Like it's the attention to detail that they have, because you don't think of like, oh well, the camera moving doesn't matter. The camera moving is literally one of the most important things, because that's how your player is seeing the game. And the fact that, like Josh, exactly what we were saying, like you turn the corner or like the camera looks in a specific way, and it works to make the art look better and makes you feel like you're more part of this game. Like these guys know what they're doing.
Yeah.
What more can I say?
And the game, by the way, the company, if we haven't already said it, is Glass Bottom Games. It is on sale, fully released, on sale for $15 right now. You can buy it on Steam. And can you check the builds? I'm afraid to like move away from the screen and like ruin
the builds. What do you mean?
Like or like the OS. So
it's Windows, Mac, and Linux.
Okay, Windows, Mac, and Linux.
Yep.
So it is.
And you can also get it on their website through Humble, which is a completely DRM free version. And you get a Steam key with that as well. So
awesome. So good job, Glass Bottom Games. Keep up the good work. I wonder if they're going to keep this style. Like, I wonder if they're using the style as kind of like their signature, because you know how you can like Bastion and Transistor, you can definitely tell it's that it's by the same group of people.
Yeah, this seems to be their house style, because they've got like, Jones is everywhere. Like I said, it is definitely a Jones is everywhere. Thematically,
yeah. And if they have the same artists and designers, like the fact that they have what's going for them is working. There's no point to fire your designer and hire a new one for a different style. Like if this is working, and I have no problem with that.
Yeah. So keep up the good work, and you know what else has good work? As I do the wrong thing. There you go. And that is the game that we're going to talk about in Peep Show.
Please give all your attention to Early Access.
This week on Peep Show, we are talking about a game from a very, not notorious. Notorious is the wrong word. Very famous developer.
For sure.
The developer is Zachtronics, and if you know that name, he has made games like Infiniminer, which happens to be the game that inspired Minecraft. But this isn't Infiniminer, this is Infinifactory, where you basically take control of a factory to smash stuff together and move things along conveyor belts and build products to sell and move, all while under the watchful eye of what I'm assuming is like a corporation owner or Lord President person.
Aliens.
Aliens, yeah, exactly.
Aliens.
And does this... Oh, man.
I should probably... Hold on. I keep forgetting to do the gameplay. Damn it.
Gameplay, yeah.
Keep talking.
There are some amazing, just logistical puzzly sort of things here where you just look at them just like, I don't think you have to be smart to play this game, but this game is definitely one of those things where it's just like you have to know what's going on, and there's going to be trial and error. You're gonna screw up. You're probably gonna get killed by the aliens, but oh my god, like the stuff that you could do, and just the ideas of making these things like, oh well, this looks really cool, or this thing's super efficient. Like the capabilities of this game are like amazing, and I can only this is on Peep Show right now. Like
Early access.
What more are they doing? You know, the art style is very what's the art style like?
Voxel.
It is, yeah, voxel, exactly. But like, I'm trying to think of like the art. It's sort of cartoony, and
painterly.
Yeah, exactly. But there's a lot of different stuff you can do, and it's just like blowing my mind with what you can do. Like
we talked. I mean, we had a little explosion about the fact that Zachtronics game who made this.
Oh my god!
He's the one that inspired Minecraft, right? So I mean, there's the voxel and the creativeness that you can have with this game. But what's cool about this Infinity Factory is that it's puzzle based, plus a little bit of humor with your alien overlords or whatever. But it's puzzle based, so you're not just being creative, but you have like a set goal. It's not open ended as much as like Minecraft is, but there's a set goal.
Yep.
You have to like solve, or else you get killed for being not
incompetent.
Yeah, for being incompetent, I guess. So I think that's what's really cool about Infinity Factory, are the puzzle base. That's what like really catches my eye.
And like they said, like Tim was saying between the segments, he's like, oh, it reminds me of this game Space Chem, and I'm like, yeah, it's Space Chem in 3D. That's what it is.
Oh my god, it is Space Chem in 3D, and he's the guy that made Space Chem. Holy crap, that's like insane. It's just, what's so amazing is that Space Chem is like, I mean, here's the thing. Everybody should play Space Chem and Infiniminer in that sense, because they're amazing games for like that puzzle-solving part of your brain, which I don't know if people know that they like it until they play it. Like, it's not like, when I see a shooting game, I can understand immediately the logic of like, I pull a trick, a guy falls over dead.
There's a big learning curve with these games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But these kind of games are like, when you play them, you're just like, you come out of them going, oh my god, I just did something so smart. Like, I just...
Yeah. There's also... exactly. There's also Steam Workshop integration, so you can make and share and play all these puzzles that people on the Steam Workshop are playing.
Yeah.
So it's like there's already a community behind this, so you can get it, hop on, and all of a sudden you're like, I got this, and you download this puzzle, and it's just blowing your mind away. Or it's like, people are gonna find cool ways of making puzzles that aren't just puzzles, but like just all of a sudden the puzzle ends and there's this piece of art in front of you or something like that. That's people. I don't know if you'll be able to like actually do that, but someone's gonna try to find a way.
It reminds me. Did you guys play Contraption Maker or Incredible Machine or any of those games?
No. I played Incredible Machine. Yeah.
You kind of make you're given a problem, and your solution can be a lot of things, and it's like, it's just amazing to see these Rube Goldberg or machines get built, and you're like, how did he figure that was going to work? And it's just, I think that's the exciting thing about something like Infiniminer, where it really does let you come up with these ideas and solutions that they aren't all going to be the same, and they can be different, but you can just, I love seeing other people's minds at work, because that is what Minecraft does really well too, right? People solve weird like construction problems, and you're like,
people do stuff with redstone is ridiculous.
Exactly. It's just, and that's the kind of thing where this game, I just wonder if it's going to have that instant appeal like a Minecraft, where I understand Minecraft very clearly. It's like, oh wow, I'm going to make get these blocks, and I'm going to build the Enterprise. Like, I get it. Like this one, I feel like, okay, I'm going to build like an actual factory. Like, I'm reading no joke. Factory. There's no kidding, man. It's like, okay, this guy wants me to actually build a factory here. He's not taking any crap.
Exactly.
Not just a factory, it's an Infinifactory.
An Infinifactory! That's what I'm saying! Yeah. An incredible Infinifactory! Oh my god.
This game sort of reminds me of a little bit of this game called Factorio, which is basically... It's sort of like... It's like a top-down, like 2.5D, where you start out with nothing, and then by the end of it, you're manufacturing like you have auto miners mining coal that are going into smelters that are making.
Sounds cool.
It is cool, and this is basically like that, only in 3D and with puzzles and objectives, which is like there are so many like sandbox-based games out there, which are like, hey, there's a sandbox, do whatever you want. And it's like, I can play, a sandbox game or like a completely open-ended game for, a weekend, and then I will literally, I'll play it for hours and hours and hours and only play that game, and then all of a sudden I'm bored.
Yeah.
You know, and this actually gives me like incentive. It's like, oh, I really need to beat this level. I really have to do this specific thing, and I don't understand how to do it. And as soon as I do it, and I wrap my mind around it, all of a sudden that like information, those skills that I have are in my brain. I was able to do that, and now I can do that again. And it's like, oh, it's so cool. We need to use games like this to teach kids. Like,
well, actually, speaking, I actually had a college course that it was about civics, and they used SimCity to teach the class. Like, that's literally what we did every class was play SimCity. So I think that's really viable actually for these kinds of games to teach kids about problem solving in a fun way. You know what I mean? It's instead of just right in your brain playing video games. Like you could use video games constructively. It's I don't know. I think you're right about that.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you guys
what was that?
I was gonna say, because the game Infiniminer and that game Factorio and stuff, they remind me of sitting down with games like Roller Coaster Tycoon, where you kind of have
and
I just remember there's just something really freaking fun about those games. I don't know why. Like, I mean, mind you, the Roller Coaster Tycoon has the funny thing of like kids barfing and crap like that, which just makes that's already funny.
That's the people that used to like launch roller coasters off and just watch them crash.
Yeah,
you make like the amusement park, and there's just something fun about the SimCity thing where you create it, you're watching it, you're seeing these people react, and you get that sort of excitement of like, oh look, they're not going on that one ride. Lower the price! Like you just like what about like
exactly
snow cones around it? That'll get them over there. And it's like once they give you all the rules, like I think Infiniminer's kind of going for that same kind of group where you basically say, here's the rules, do what you want to do, and have fun with it. But we'll give you, we'll kind of, in Infiniminer, I almost want to see that there's people running around reacting to stuff, because I looked at that Factorio game and that thing looks insane. Like I see fucking Buffalo.
It's insane.
That's way past what I'm like, I want to buy the game. That's incredible. That looks like a Railroad Tycoon times 1,000. Like it's
there's also and going back to Infinifactory, there's also because this isn't early access, you want to know how much they're updating. It looks like they're trying to update. There were a lot of updates in January. Right now we've gotten one update on the 5th of February talking about how you can record animated GIFs and export them through the program. They've worked on hotbar improvements, lots of bug fixes. They are very much active in making this game, and it is a pricey game. It's $24.99 on Steam. It's in early access.
But I think just because of his reputation, I think is enough for you to be like to give it a chance at $24.99 for an early access game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I would say normally I'd say $24.99 early access. Holy shit! But I mean that on top of his reputation, this is a fairly completed game. It's very polished already.
Really, what they're trying to add are smaller campaigns to introduce new mechanics, new blocks, new environments, and different products that you can make. And also making more stuff available. So, more blocks, more factory blocks, more stuff you can do. So right now they have the whole campaign is done. More than 30 puzzles, completely voice acted, Steam Workshop enabled and everything. And it will still be $24.99 when it goes completely out. So, I mean, you're not saving any money buying it early, but you are able to actually play it early. So they really have the game for all intents and purposes is done. There's a campaign. There are plenty of things you can go from start to finish and do it. But there's stuff that they're planning. Take of that what you will. It is early access. All of the disclaimers about early access fall on.
Always. Even if it didn't get completed, though, I think it's still plenty to have fun with anyway.
Mm-hmm. That guy's solid, man.
Yeah.
So Zachtronics,
Infiniminer, yes.
a bit of an indie legend, especially when you're talking about the Minecraft inspiration.
Yeah, definitely.
Man, by the way, I was just thinking, because this is on Steam, imagine if Minecraft was on Steam. you know how hard it is sometimes to get mods and textures and shit like that to work. Steam makes it a lot more easier just by installing it through that.
Yep.
I think if they did that with Minecraft, what? Anyway.
Well, Minecraft doesn't have an API.
Well, Minecraft.
So they can't even do that. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, thank you, Zachtronics, for being you. We love you.
Seriously.
Go support the devs. And you know what else you should support?
What's that?
Free fun.
This week on Free Fun, you don't even have to download anything. You just go to the link. If you're in the live stream, we'll probably have a link rolling up at some point. Or if you're watching this from the recorded version, there's going to be a link down below the video somewhere. This is called Town of Salem. And if anybody has ever had a drama class, like at high school or college, you've probably played the game Mafia or Werewolf or something like that. Basically, the mechanic of the game is there are a bunch of townspeople. Some of them are evil, and some of them are, you know, basically good guys. And then there are one or two people who can sort of like investigate things. And excuse me. Oh, I'm dying here.
Uh-oh.
Okay. And during the night, the evil people decide to kill somebody, and the good guy tries to, you know, figure out who the bad people are. And the game ends when all the bad people are dead, or all the good people are dead. And depending on, you know, who's who. So it's sort of like this asymmetrical sort of, the people can't actually kill. I mean, there are different mechanics that this game throws in that I'll try to get into. The good guys can only basically call a vote and kill whoever they think might be the evil person, but they won't know.
Is this like Bang, the card game? Because it kind of sounds like it.
Kind of, yeah. And you know, it's a great game to play with some friends. There are a few things that
I think the problem is that if you get that one person that's just like, you know, like the troll, I think that kind of ruins it.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you have a good
there are
group
a
of
few
friends,
things. Yeah, exactly. And see, that's one of the biggest complaints that I have about this game. Mechanics aside, again, there are a lot of different ways that people play Mafia style games. And everybody thinks that their way is the right way. I'm one of those people.
Of course.
But what they need in this game is to be able to make a private room where you and 5 other friends or 10 other friends can like get into a Skype call, hop into this game, and role play it out. Because these games are very much role playing. You have to convince, if you're evil, if you're evil, you have to convince everybody that you're not evil. And if you're good, you have to make sure that people don't think you're evil. And there's manipulation and and although I think that there's some point of the real like in-person game that gets lost in you know, the technical world where you don't actually hear voices or anything or see faces, they did a very good job of actually, you know, mechanically reproducing this game. So no longer do you need to have 10 people in the same room to play this game. All of a sudden, the rules are right in front of you. Everything sort of makes sense. And you can play with 10 friends. 2 of them are in another country. And then 4 of them, you know, live down the street.
Sure.
They add in a lot of different classes and characters and stuff that you can play that do different things.
Wait, in the free version, or are you talking about the...
Yep, I'm talking about the free version.
They do, yeah, if we didn't mention it already, I forget, but they do have a version on Steam, I think it's like $5, that you can pay for, and it has a lot more stuff to it.
Yeah,
so, exactly. I mean, $5 isn't that much, but we wanted to point out the free version, so go
ahead. My big... Now that I've said the game and you know, check it out, here are my reservations about the game. Other than what I've already mentioned with no private rooms, to my knowledge, or any of my friends' knowledges. I usually play the game where you don't know that a murderer was a murderer until the game ends and they out themselves.
Okay.
Whereas this, it's like they get killed and everybody knows that, oh, this person was the murderer, this person was the sheriff.
It's a whodunit.
Exactly. But like there's this level of mystery that is lost when you know there are 8 people left and you started with 15, and then all of a sudden, you know, someone dies and everyone's like, were they the murderer? Like, what happened? Did we kill an innocent person? And then everybody goes back to sleep and they're like, oh no, maybe we made the wrong decision.
Well, you know as soon as they die.
No, you don't. No,
yeah, you do. It show when they die, it comes up with their.
No, exactly, and that's why that's one thing that I don't like.
That's complaint.
That's my complaint.
Don't tell me.
It tells you. Don't tell me. Actually, give me the mystery. Make me feel like I may have made the wrong choice.
Okay,
because
I
it's
see what you're
obvious. Then it's like, I killed the bad guy, or I killed we accidentally lynched the sheriff. Like the best part about the game in person, if you play it the way I'm talking about, a guy could go out, like you could vote somebody dead, and then they have last words, and just like, you just killed the sheriff, and then he dies, and the person who might be the sheriff is like, no, I was the sheriff, but you can't prove it. Mm-hmm. That's the best part.
It is kind of fun. It is kind of fun though when you are talking to someone while playing this game.
Yeah.
Because you can fuck with each other.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Like, no, dude, you can trust me, man. I'm the sheriff.
That's why whenever I play with my friends, I'm always the first one to get killed, because everybody knows that I'm a wild card, and if people
let's just get rid of this one right away.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, I can't trust him. He's too good. Kill him off now. but that's the scary thing, because they don't. Because then I'm just like, come on, guys. No one would actually pick me to be the mafia 4 times in a row. Like, seriously, that one and that one.
Says the Godfather.
Yeah, exactly. So if you want to like have a fun time with your friends, it is the free version is browser based. You have to make an account. There are some microtransaction-y things, but it's all for cosmetics.
Yeah, it's not pay to win.
Yeah, it doesn't change the game or anything. I will say that the interface has a learning curve, and I'll be honest, I don't even really know how to use it completely. It's confusing, and it's going to take you a while.
It is,
and
the
I recommend
UI.
Playing with friends.
I think that's my major gripe about it. Is the UI is like, what the hell is happening? It's kind of all over the place, but I mean, the point of it is that it's first of all free. So what are you going to complain about?
Yep.
And it's fun, so free fun.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what else?
Unless there's anything else anyone wants to say, I think.
Did you mention
about Factorio? That game is amazing. I just looked it up. Holy crap! We're having a whole episode about that. There's little buffalo running around on train tracks they get run over on. It's amazing.
Actually, those are aliens. Those are like
aliens. Like, you're an alien.
Alien buffalo.
Yeah. We'll talk about it after the show.
So Blank Media Games, but you know what else you can't complain about, or we should talk about, and transition. The end of the show, because all good things must come to an end. And let me go back to our beautiful faces. There it is. And this is the end of the show. Thank you. Episode 40, dude. 40 episodes.
40 episodes.
40.
40 episodes. 3 conventions. 1 meetup.
4 conventions if you count Indy 3.
Oh yeah. 4 conventions.
6,000 bottles of water later.
Yeah, really.
99 beers of bottles of beer on the wall.
Hundreds of more subscribers too. Holy crap!
Yeah, we just reached 100 likes on Facebook. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great job too.
Yeah, it's nice.
Interviews out the wazoo. I mean, come on.
Yeah, our wazoo is packed full of interviews.
Yeah, but it's not as packed as some of those bosses from Boss 101.
That's true.
Jesus.
There's one built into them. They come pre-built.
Well, if you are a game developer like Tim, or if you know someone who is, or you do anything with games like art or music or anything like that, let us know. Just let us know so we love. Our whole point is to support indie devs, so we can feature your work and get you exposure. Even if it's not on the show, we have a website, indiegameride.com. We can write an article, put you on there, give you a little bit of exposure, tweet you out, all that sort of stuff. That is what we're about. If you are watching this on our live version, remember we have a recorded version. Yeah, hello. We have a recorded version that comes out every week that has the background music and bumpers. We already have gameplay footage in the live version now, but so you check that out on indiegameride.com. It's also it's actually hosted on YouTube, but we always put it on our website. And then if you are watching the recorded version, check us out live. You can stick around for our tomfoolery in between segments, and we're on hitbox.tv/JoshandYah. We record Fridays 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, so come join us. A couple other things just to make you aware of. Actually, after this episode, we're going to have to pick out our the game that we're going to tell Indie Gamer Chick to review. If you don't know, we have a challenge going on with her called Put Our Money Where Our Mouths Are Challenge. Basically, out of the games that we feature for the month, we pick our favorite. If she hasn't reviewed it yet, we pick our favorite and tell her, hey, here, check out this game, do a review. It gets the game. First of all, she buys the game, so supports the dev. It gets the game more exposure because she has a very popular blog. And then we also match the amount of the game and donate it to her charity. It's not her charity, but it's her charity of choice, which is the Epilepsy Foundation, because she suffers from epilepsy. So it helps a lot of people. Everyone's like a win-win-win-win-win-win situation. So stay tuned for that. We also have a Patreon. Talk about a win-win situation. It helps us. And also, if it helps us, that means we can do more things for you guys. Really could use the help to get kind of push Indie Game Right even further into awesomeness and helping indie games and things like that. So check us out on Patreon.
You can also get some cool stuff.
Yeah.
You can't, like you might have missed the Indiegogo that we ran, but now you can get some of the stuff that we had on the Indiegogo at the Patreon. So
patreon.com/Indie Game Right.
That's how you pronounce that, because I always wondered myself until I hear it. You guys have said it the same way as a few other people now.
Yeah. There's also people who say like Patreon or
Patreon.
I don't know.
It's supposed to be like you're a patron.
Patron.
I almost said patriot. Patron. Just forget it. Anyway,
something like that.
So if you want to contact us about any of this stuff, or if you want to get featured, contact us. You can check us out on Twitter at IGR Podcast, Facebook.com/IGR Podcast. Website is IndieGameRiot.com, and email is contact@IndieGameRiot.com.
You almost messed up.
Almost did it again. And lastly, thank you, Tim, again for joining us.
Definitely.
Go check out his game, Boss 101. Tim, I won't say Tim. DonnellyTimeFoundation.com or Boss101.com.
They make time machines in the future. You just don't know it.
We do make time machines.
Yeah. You'll find out.
Clearly.
They've already been made 30 years.
If they're ever going to be made, they've already been made. So
yes. So to go check it out. Thank you so much for.
Come back. I love this place.
Yeah,
definitely.
If you guys want.
Yeah, if you ever want to come back
if
on,
Rev's
just
ever
chat.
Yeah.
I don't mind having people on again,
definitely.
just as guests and things like that. So
You guys are great.
Thank you so much. Any last words, gentlemen?
We're gonna talk about more indie games after the show. Probably.
All right. Well,
definitely.
Say goodbye.
See you next time, guys.
See ya.
Toodles.
Thank you, guys.